Welcome to the Deployed Podcast, where strategy, ideas, and capital come to life.
Guys, thanks again for joining. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michael Kearse, a real estate investor and founder of Ameripath USA Debt Fund. Over the last several years, I've helped investors deploy millions into affordable real estate that creates consistent, secure returns while helping families across the country achieve home ownership. I created Deploy because I realized everyone has capital, whether it be money, knowledge, relationships, but few deploy it intentionally. It shows all about the art and science of deployment and how high performers turn potential into power. My guest today is Javier. He's someone who is currently working for the NFL. How cool is that? And he has took some of his busy schedules to spend some time with us. So welcome, Javier. Thanks again for you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Javier, how do you usually introduce what you do to people who don't know your world?
I just say the way I talk about my career is I'm a professor and also a marketing and advertising executive. So I've worked within the world of consumer marketing.
Cool, cool, cool. So what's one thing that most people kind of get wrong about like who you are and what you do? When you talk about being a professor and working in.
They think all I do is create commercials or, because of the NFL, I'm running around with, football players or celebrities. That has nothing to do with what I do. We are developing programs and initiatives that, drive the growth of the business. And, we have to think about what drives the business and stick to the goals there and make certain strategic decisions that allow that to happen, and then develop plan and execute those plans accordingly each year. And it happens to be that, the product here is the game of football. So players are involved, but I've worked on many different products from, cellular phones to soft drinks to entertainment properties to technology. So it's still the same fundamental, I guess, structure in how to build a business and come up with solutions that help grow whatever initiative that you're thinking through.
Yeah. You're spot on because, like I said earlier before we started, I had a stint as a project manager working for the NFL, and I was shocked to learn that it's really a marketing company. That's how they explained to me, and it's really about broadcasting. The product just happens to be players playing football. So, well said there. I want to go back for a second before all the wins and all the success that you. Who were you before this version of success showed up for you?
Who was I before? Um, I don't, success is actually a pretty strong word. I'm just very privileged enough to actually do those type of things that I'm very interested in. And I consider that success, having, ability to work on very creative and interesting projects alongside having the time and the ability to spend time with my family is kind of what I think is success to me. And, I think as I was going through my journey as an adult and someone trying to figure out their career, I was chasing different things and, every time I chased them and achieved the goals, I realized that wasn't what I really wanted. And then until I got to this place where I found somewhat of a right balance in regards to, I guess, career, financial independence, and then also, family and kind of what makes me whole as a human being.
Well said. Well said. I recall someone once telling me that a goal or a dream that you're trying to achieve, often it's the journey of the goal that really becomes fulfilling. Once you get it, it kind of loses its novelty, for lack of a better word. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. Were there any early struggles that shaped how you operate today?
Yeah, there was a ton. I was married at one point in my life, and she passed away. So that was something that, helped me reflect on what my life was and where it should go. I would say a bit of imposter syndrome. I'm one of the first in my family to actually go to college, do kind of the what the world perceives as success and having these corporate jobs and stuff like that, and identifying myself within that space and who am I, how do I really create value? How do I stay true to myself? There was times when, I had to make some decisions, financial decisions that probably weren't the right decisions, and it set back kind of the course that I wanted. So yeah, a ton of things have happened in my.
Yes. Sorry to hear about your wife. And Yeah, I echo some of those same things, right? Is the financial mistakes that we make often can, um, you know, be hard lessons learned. So I understand where you come from. Thanks for sharing that. What was there like a big break or a deal that happened at some point? And if so, did it teach you anything?
I don't think there was any deal that was like super, I think there was steady wins consistently throughout my life that has helped me kind of build upon that. And I also think those moments of time when I had struggle helped me redefine myself and also, really, how would I say it, helped me understand what I needed in my life and how to move forward. And I think those are successes that really empowered me and kind of refocused me and and continue to get those smaller wins to a point where no one's ever really fully comfortable, but enough to feel good about that I'm giving my family a nice solid foundation for the future. God forbid anything doesn't go the right.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So obviously, you've had some form of success in your life, and you've built some things incredible. You've done some great things, but I know success is more mindset than mechanics sometimes. So I want to unpack how you think. What principles or beliefs would you say guide how you make decisions?
One, I try to assess the risk behind whatever decision I make, and where my risk tolerance is for that particular venture or investment or time that I'm going to put towards it. I would say the second piece of that puzzle is I consider kind of, how it impacts my life and my family um, uh, in any of those decisions. And then the last thing I would say is, I have a goal in life, and how does that impact me or get me closer to those goals that I have in the future? Is the way I kind of move forward.
I love that. I love that. Can you share some of your current goals with us here today?
Yeah, I mean, look, I want to be able to continue my career all the way till I can't anymore, and I think my second career is being a professor, and then so being able to afford the lifestyle that I have while still, doing that. I think another goal is, to have, I guess a connection more internationally than ever before. I do deal with the international world from a career perspective, but how do you have a lifestyle in that space? And then just to take care of my fam, my fam is kind of what has helped me get through all of it, and just continue to support them is a big piece of that.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I'm a big guy that's motivated by family as well, right? It's like you want to be the best version of you so that you can really lead them and really provide for them. That's awesome. So we talk a lot about here about how people deploy their capital, not just financially, but intellectually, relationally, right? So I'm curious on how that looks to you. When you think of capital, what does that word mean to you?
Yeah, I think of capital in many different ways. There's human capital, there's financial capital, there's social currency that we could think about. So, I think, if we look at kind of the fundamentals of just economics as a whole, time is really the only thing that, you cannot control. So how do you think about sharing that time across, the currencies that you need? And don't spend too much things that are going to waste your time, especially as I get older. And you don't think about that until you start getting older and you start realizing the limited amount of time that you may have. Um, I think about that a lot lately. And then, making some strategic decisions, a little bit less risk averse, less risky due to, you know, uh, I need to know that there's going to be some type of upside. So I'm a little bit more careful about things. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
No, no, that did. And you spoke right to this podcast, right? Like to your point, there's more types of capital outside of just financial. So I love how you share that. Are there any types of opportunities that are getting your attention these days?
just staying, in the world of business and marketing, just staying relevant. Things are speeding up very quickly. The decentralization of control of building businesses and then having the right tools around you. I think that keeps me, I'm interested in that and just staying ahead of that, or at least understanding that. Of course, AI is a part of that, or, LLMs are a part of that process, just knowing that. I think the other piece is staying creative and being around, people that still create motivations for you. So I think that's an important part of just staying healthy and strong and vibrant, mentally, emotionally, like spiritually. Yeah, I think that's kind of where my head is at. Like I
Yeah,
want
yeah.
people and I want to continue learning.
I love it. I love it. So you brought up something that I was going to mention earlier, and you mentioned it again when you talk about AI, and especially with marketing. So I have a huge digital marketing background. Later on in life, I started out with an undergrad in psychology, then went to school for business, and then really delved into direct response marketing, more specifically, and marketing around small software and IT companies. The things that you can do with ChatGPT and Claude and coming up with campaigns and writing copy. What's your thought about that? What's your opinion on AI and how individuals are leveraging it or not leveraging it in today, especially in marketing?
Look, I think everybody's using it in some capacity. I have students that use it on a consistent basis. I think that we just have to learn how to adapt our ways of working and really understand what the technology is built for so we can optimize ourselves, right? So I have no opinion of it other than keep trying to stay within the space of learning, be fluid enough to actually adapt your business practices for that and understand what drives the economy. So then you guys are, people are kind of focused on where the wins are, and I think if you're in that space, then I think things are going to go. You like staying stagnant is not going to be helpful here.
So switching gears real quick as we wrap up, I always like to end with perspective because the way, like I said earlier, the way people deploy capital says a lot about who we are and what we value. How would you define wealth today? And has that changed over time?
Yes, I think time is wealth, having enough time as well. So I think that's important. Having understanding and being able to do things for yourself, because I grew up in New York City in an apartment. Now, I live more in the suburbs and I realized what I don't know. I didn't know how to mow the lawn. I didn't know how to build something. I didn't know how to do those type of things. And I think those things are even more valuable. Just being more self-sufficient in this current age is actually an important thing that I consider very wealthy. And then, of course, the things that we think about, which is, what's in the bank, what do you own? Like all that stuff is important, but not as important as your time and just being able to take care of yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I love how you keep bringing up time. It's the only asset that is truly limited, right? Every other asset you can replenish and grow, but time, you only get that finite amount of it. That's why they call it the present, which is pretty cool. So, when we talk about your impact one day, what do you hope that people say about you?
I would love people to say that, that I was useful, like that I provided them with some perspective, that they learned and grew from our interaction in whatever capacity it was. I think that's it. If I could just give a little nugget to everybody, then I think I've done well for this world.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now I want to do a little bonus section with you, right? I'll call this the rapid fire round. Okay. I'm going to ask you a short, quick question, and I want you to just spit out the first thing that comes to your mind. It's pretty fun. Okay. You promise?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Okay, cool. Book that changed your life.
Down these mean streets.
Best investment under $500.
My TV. Yes. I don't know.
All right. One word that defines success. I think I know what you're probably going to say for that.
Family.
Who do you admire for how they deploy capital?
This is going to be a weird one, but just because I worked there, Microsoft.
Nice. What role did you do at Microsoft? Was it marketing as well?
I did product marketing for them.
Awesome. 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 Well, hey, Javier, thank you again for joining us on the podcast. That's all the time we have today. Where can people come find you, learn a little bit more about you, any speaking engagements?
On LinkedIn, I think that's kind of where I try to stay away from the social media too much, but LinkedIn is kind of where you get to me. And if I do something excited, I'll probably post it there. But I'm a low key type of dude.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, from one New York guy to another. I'm in the Philly area, but born and raised in New York. Thank you again for your time. And again, thank you to those listening for tuning in to Deploy. We'll see you on the next episode. Talk soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
You've been watching the Deployed podcast, where we deploy insight, capital, and growth.